Don't be alarmed. You're very sleepy, but you're waking up. Yes, don't be alarmed. You are going to help me. That's why I've brought you here. Yes, we are going to make it so that everyone in the world, when they go to use the self-checkout at the grocery, the person in front of them doesn't know what they're doing. It takes forever.
Hey, what are you doing in my office? What? What the? Get out, you know? I mean, who let that guy in here, I wonder? I don't know what that was all about. But anyway, welcome to the lecture today. Let's start off with a quote from Detroit, one of the characters in Sorry to Bother You, right here. That's what she says in the movie, and that's what we've been trying to do all semester. What she said in that quote. And that's what we're going to talk about in analyzing these two movies that we're going to talk about today, Get Out and Sorry to Bother You. Now, both of these movies use genre as a means of satire. Now, what I mean by that is genre is like a type of writing or a type of movie. So you got comedy, you got horror, you got romance. You get it. That's what genre is. And these movies use genres, specifically horror and comedy, to get across their satire. Now remember, satire always satirizes something. There's always a target if it's satire. So we're going to talk about what these movies target specifically when it comes to satire. What are they satirizing is another way of putting that. That means who or what is the target of their satire. So we're going to analyze, see if we can maybe figure that out. Now remember, as we go through here, the goal is not to be correct necessarily, as in a settled answer that is written somewhere in stone or whatever, but rather the theorizing itself is the point. To start off, let's talk about a little bit of a difference in how Get Out treats its victims compared to a lot of horror movies and how their victims are portrayed. Notice in like Friday the 13th, the victims are victimized because of something they did. They were naughty, and they caused Jason to drown. So, spoiler alert, but, there's Freddy. He kills because of how he was treated by the community and everything. So he's now got to kill to slake his bloodthirst. But this one, Get Out, is kind of like Silence of the Lambs. I don't know if you've seen that one, but in that movie, if you remember, the people who were victimized, the women who were victimized there, were victimized because of something about who they were. Not because of something they did, some wrong they committed or carelessness. But no, they were targeted because of who they were as people. Get Out kind of does the same thing here because Chris is a targeted victim because he is black. And also you notice because he wants so much not to, quote, make everything about race, which we're going to come back to later in this lecture. He wants to get along and be part of the family. He doesn't want to cause a fuss, But at every turn, he ignores his uneasiness because of that. But every interaction ends up being about race, even in a playful way, leading him to question if he's just being too sensitive and unreasonable. So he wants to just keep things at peace and not really make a big deal of it.
Too though, but I do know Tiger.
Oh, that's great.
Super.
Gordon loves Tiger.
Oh, the best I've ever seen, ever, hands down. So Chris, let's see your form.
This is Nielsen and Elisa.
Hey, how you doing?
So, how handsome is he?
Are you into
Okay.
Oh.
Not bad. Hey, Nielsen? So, is it true? Is it better?
Wow.
Fair skin has been in favor for the past, couple of hundreds of years. But now the pendulum is swung back. Black is in fashion.
Pardon me, I'm gonna take some pictures.
Sure.
It's like with the cop. He just wanted to go along and be as unobtrusive as possible. She is the one who had all these demands of the cop. But black people are often told if they just cooperate and don't make a fuss, everything will be fine. It's their job to make, other people feel at ease. Here's a quote from a New York Times review of Get Out. It says, "For his part, Chris spends so much time putting the white world at ease that he can't recognize the threat coming for him." In this case, the dark humor is that this time it really is something nefarious happening. It's not just uncomfortable and vaguely threatening, as it always is when someone doesn't see you as being fully as human as they are, so you're like a curiosity and they want to talk about it. That's bad enough, but there's usually not a physical threat like a horror movie threat, and there is in this because they're using the horror movie as a way to get across the satire. Notice, though, in a fun little dramatic irony that you can notice on the second time through, that when she says, no one's going to, mistreat my man, she refers to him as my man. And then later the father, when they get to the property, says, my man.
What?
That was hot.
Oh, I feel I don't even fuck with my man.
I'm kidding. You call me Dean and you're hungry, my man.
When you know what they intend for Chris, that takes on a different meaning. Saying no one's going to mess with my man is not so much protective as it is proprietary. She owns him, she thinks anyway. Now, it would have been easy and expected for Peele to make a movie that focused on easy to spot, jerk bigots like Jeremy. Make the whole movie about those kind of people where, Chris comes into the situation and everybody's like, hey, we hate black people, we're going to get them. But Peele does something that is interesting and intentionally disconcerting by focusing on greedy people who use and exploit race for reasons they see as rational. The people who come to the auction, they are all calm, nice, seemingly normal and reasonable people. They would insist that they see everyone as equal. But they just happen to use black people for their own personal gain. One has nothing to do with the other in their minds. Steve Lift says basically the same thing. He says, hey, this isn't irrational. Me turning people into horses? Not irrational.
I just didn't want you to think I was crazy. We're saving the economy. We're saving lives.
And in a twisted way, he's right. Because once you decide to dehumanize and exploit people for profit, whether as a corporation or as someone who uses our systems to get ahead at the cost of other people, then anything you do to that end is cool. Of course, rationality, something that follows from something else, logically, does not necessarily mean it's not horrible for humanity. And a lot of times what they do is horrible for humanity, like what Steve Lift is doing and what Stephen Root's character is doing by stealing Chris's eyes. I would make the argument that he is the most important villain in the entire movie, and there are a lot of them. I think he's the most important one. Notice that it's almost kind of like a joke, a satirical joke that Peele is making here, in that Jim Hudson literally can't see color. You hear people say all the time, I don't even see color. I'm colorblind. And often the person who says this means well. They mean to say, I've learned that judging people based on the color of their skin is something we should avoid. So therefore, I've trained myself to not even notice a difference in colors of skin.
White black people.
Who knows? But please don't let me in with that. I could give a shit what color you are. No. What I want is deeper. I want your eye, man.
What he doesn't say out loud is, I could give it to what color you are, but I will still use the rigged game against you. I'll use the setup against you. So they are the ones hung up on race, maybe. They're the ones who are racist. But I am not doing that. I'm just exploiting you for what I can get from you, he says. I mean, is that supposed to be better?